What's going on here? Former Patriot, Super Bowl 51 champ Geno Grissom here. You're listening to Boston's Big Three presented by Ride the Wave Media.
What's up, everybody? The Spike King here. This is episode 48 of Boston's Big Three, presented by Ride the Wave Media. And today, we're sponsored by Elio's Pizza. Elio's is great. We're in the quarantine life right now, so I have stocked up on plenty of frozen pizza. I reached out to them, said I love what they do. You know, growing up on that as a kid. And over 50 years, Elio's has introduced its rectangular slices to perfectly fit the lunchroom tray. Today, it's still made with the same 100% real mozzarella cheese, real crazy savory sauce, and four corners of wholesome, crispy, crunchy crust. Also, try some of their other brands like Sicilian style and even breadsticks. You can find Elio's at your local supermarkets in the freezer aisle. Today, myself and Joe Stafford are on the show. For those that are unaware of Joe Stafford, you sure already know him by now. They call it the Boston's Big Three. And Joe Stafford's like always coming off the bench. He's always coming off scoring buckets for us, getting us the dubs. Joe Stafford and I went to the NFL Combine last month, right before quarantine life hit. We got out there in time to be able to take a little trip. Perfect timing for all that. And why we got Joe Stafford on the show today and myself is because we're going to be talking about the NFL Draft. The NFL draft's still happening, folks. It's April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. This is going to be the biggest event of April, pretty much, and it's going to be all video conference. So in a little bit, Joe Stafford's going to run down his, I think it's his 2.0 or 3.0 mock draft. But
3.0.
3.0 mock draft. Now, Joe Stafford, when we were going to the Combine, has told me, I don't know what year it is. You can correct me later on. But Joe Stafford said he got 15 picks right one year. So Stafford has, and I told him in the car, I forget what our bet is. I think I might have it written down. I was like, you got to get at least 12 right or something. I had you in double digits, and you were a little scared. You should be able to hit this on the head this year because there's no pro days. They're doing all video conferencing, FaceTime. It's pretty much what you've seen at the Combine and what you've seen in college is what they're going to be going off of. So your mock draft right now, today, on April 6th should be pretty accurate. And then I'm sure that when you get the 4.0, the 4.0 is probably going to end up being your last one. It should be as accurate as possible as we head into the draft in a couple of weeks.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. So, Joe, before we even get into the NFL draft, what we're going to do for you folks at home that are listening, that are watching, is we're going to start from number one. We're going to list them off. Joe's going to give you a little explanation of each pick as we go forward. We'll take a little break in between. And then when we get to the Patriots pick, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, Joe, before we get into the NFL draft and your picks, anything that you want to talk about to start the show?
Just pray for me real quick. I'm starting a side hustle at Instacart to get some extra money going on. And this is the number one week in the country to not go to a grocery store. And for you guys who don't know Instacart, that job is basically going to the grocery store and delivering to a bunch of old people and young executives. So pray for me. Have a mask on. I'll have the gloves. Maybe I'll have a mustache like Babs too. We'll see as the time goes on. But yeah, definitely stay safe out there and pray for me as I'm going to the front lines there.
You know, the mustache thing, it's something we're doing at work because when you wear, for the visual at home here, I got to pull this out. We got our little masks over here, and you have to put these on. You shouldn't have a beard because the beard actually can carry bacteria, and then you're breathing everything in, but the mustache is actually fine. So what we've been doing as a group with all the guys at work, we all threw money down and we said, who can grow? There's 4 categories: ugliest, creepiest mustache, most professional one, those that can't even grow one, and then most eccentric or some shit like that. And it's just something to pass the time to keep us all sane while we're on the front lines. We'll talk more about the COVID stuff at the end of the show, but at least you're hustling right now and have a side hustle. Some people out there have to do what they got to do to make the money, and we'll get more into that later on. My thing to start the show is I want to talk about Donald Trump. And it came out that he met with the commissioners a couple of days ago last week, the NBA, NHL, MLB, even Vince McMahon, WWE was on that phone call as well. And it came out to say that Donald Trump is hoping that everything is opened back up in August for in terms of sports, where fans can go into games. There's also other things that I read that he'll give sports leagues tax breaks that they don't have to pay taxes, which means that their concessions will go down. They want to get and ticket prices should go down because they want to get as many fans back in as possible, which is a smart thing to do. Trump is trying to look out for, we need to get the public back in there and not be scared. And man, I tell you, if there's $2 hot dogs and $5 beers, that's going to make me want to go to more games. The Atlanta Falcons were the first team to really do that at the Mercedes-Benz when they opened that up, and they had to get rid of people just spending their money at bars outside of the stadium. They want to get them in early as possible. So having those tax breaks would be very great for these organizations. But I saw that. And look, I talked to GRD the second after I heard this, and I was calling him and told him my 2 cents. I'm telling you guys this right now. The NBA and the NHL and the MLB, NBA, NHL, MLB, are all going to be canceled this year. So the NBA, NHL are done. The MLB is not even going to play a single game this year. The NFL is not going to start their season in September. They will start, if they are going to start their season or have it out there, it's going to start in November. Some interesting tidbits that just are coming to me. And the reason I'm saying this is because I fucking work at the hospital in Boston, and I'm just seeing the way things have been transitioned. And again, this is my opinion. Doesn't mean that this is a complete fact, but I just feel that the way we're transitioning at the major trauma hospital in Boston and seeing how we're developing, which I can get into way later, is just that there's absolutely no way in my mind that we're going to be able to get back as a society to fit 70,000 people into a stadium by September. September 4th is where it's supposed to be the NFL kickoff. I do not see that happening at all. I do see that, yes, in our society, eventually we're going to be flattening the curve, as they're saying, for these cases, and we're going to start letting people go back out, not in the big masses of 70,000, and not even 70,000. You're talking about 150 to 200,000 people just showing up to those places on game days. The fact that you're going to have that many people show up, people are going to get sick again. It's going to cause a pandemic 2.0. It's going to cause a hysteria. And the United States government is not being totally honest to the people out there, because we need to be in a lockdown until at least June 31st, July 1st, and not this whole May 4th, because they're going to just keep pushing things back. They don't want to scare the public. That's a whole nother story. But again, I don't see the NFL having their season in September. I see it pushed back to November. And I actually don't even see the NFL playing at all this year. And I think that they just canceled the season in general, because when this starts pushing back, they'll be like, it's not even going to be worth it to get this shit out there. A couple of things I just want to talk briefly that pulls that stuff together. So the NFL has pushed back their schedule. It's usually coming out within a couple days from now, April 15th, mid-April. They pushed it back no later than May 9th, they said in a tweet, which is funny because I made the Chiefs and Patriots should open up, and then like 8 hours later, they're like, no, we're not having the schedule till May 9th. A couple of things that I'm interested in, Stafford. Number one, I don't see them even having any international games this year. They usually have these London games every year, a Mexico game. Germany's been thrown in there. One of the things I thought of was, well, they've been probably pushing the schedule back a little bit because they want to see where Brady lands, and that's the domino effect to see where some of these big names land. Do they want Brady to travel? What do they want for games? Prime time games change. I just see there's going to be absolutely no international games, meaning that the Chargers and Jaguars, it's like, hey, you guys are going to have an extra home game this year, blah, blah, blah. Another thing, too, is they're pushing that back because they want to see how things are developing. They might have to push their season back. You're not going to have rookie camp the way you're looking at this right now. The NFL just can't the society can't just magically open August 31st and then they're like, okay, your season starts in September. They need training camp. They need practices. They need an OTA. They need to have these players be able to travel to the stadiums to have, in-person practices and going over game film. And that's not happening right now.
All right. So let me throw a scenario at you.
Go ahead.
So say it goes by that June 31st, July 1st deadline, like you said, right?
Yes.
And they jump back in and society's completely opened up again. No second pandemic, presumably, right? We're going from there. they might just cancel the preseason and just have OTAs and training camp in a condensed schedule and go right into the season like that.
So I agree with you 100% on that one, where it's like no preseason games. We're not going to have teams fly with each other and fly around. Stay where you are. Just keep practicing. And then kind of like the first September is like a in New England, September is like a preseason. Like that's what it is. I think that you're right on that one. And I think that's what they'll end up doing. But when they start letting people back, I'm telling you, there's going to be another spread. Like, I just think that it's inevitable. It's going to end up happening again. Some interesting things right now, Joe, is that, and something that maybe you could do a little bit more research into, is Jarrett Stidham right now. He's in Foxborough. Like, this actually pandemic is helping him because he lives in Texas, and this is coming from Roondog's little conspiracy theory, is that Belichick knew that this was going to get bad. And Belichick probably saw the writing on the wall and called Stidham. This was weeks before this actually quarantine hit, and said, you need to get your ass up to Foxborough. Like, you're not going to get quarantined down in Texas. We need you up here. I'm actually interested to see the quarterbacks around the league right now. It doesn't mean all players, but the quarterbacks around the league, where are they quarantined right now? Are they quarantined with their team in their facility, or are they like, at home with their family? And that's a huge difference because, yeah, you can do the game film at home. I know Dan Shea from the 2 Minute Joe got a little interview with Hunter Bryant and for the tight end from Washington. And Hunter was saying how they're doing all FaceTime calls, Zoom, Skype, whatever it is. Someone like a Jarrett Stidham, this is what I like actually, is that he's probably in the bowels of Gillette Stadium and he's probably quarantined in there. And they're telling, and Belichick's like, here's a bunch of books. Go read this today. Here you go read that today. Go do this. I know Belichick's quarantined out in Nantucket or whatever, but it's like, hey, make sure you're doing this today. Make sure you're doing that today. You're inside. There's the weight rooms. Get familiar with it. This is your place. This is your kingdom. It's actually pretty cool if you think about it. Jarrett Stidham's the only one at Gillette Stadium. He has access to everything he needs to learn. I'm just wondering, and I'm curious if there's anybody else out there right now that has that same access, is doing the same thing, especially Stidham in his case, where it's like, you need this extra time. Now, imagine Jarrett Stidham was quarantined to Texas right now, and he had no access to Gillette and didn't fly or anything like that. It would hurt him. Just something it was a good spitball idea out there. But no matter what, I just feel like the NFL season's not going to happen. It's a hot take. And I can't say that publicly. I'm going to say it on Boston's Big Three. I can't say that publicly on Instagram, because then if I say the NFL season's canceled, I'll just get shit on anytime I want to talk about the NFL in this upcoming season. It's like, well, what's the point of talking about it, Babs, if you say there's going to be absolutely no season, because it's all just a hypothetical to you? I'm just saying, I truly don't think it's going to happen. 2020 is canceled. It's going to be an awful summer coming up, and we'll see what happens.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope so too.
Do.
I hope so too.
I really do. But another interesting thing that's going on as the NFL season might get pushed back, and we're dealing with this coronavirus, COVID-19. The draft obviously is not going to have fans. It's not going to be in Vegas anymore. It's going to be all online. And something that came out a couple days ago is that the NFL's actually spoken to EA Sports, and they're going to be creating virtual representations of them going on the stage and getting accepted from Goodell and everything. So that would be kind of a cool way to see the draft somewhere we haven't really seen it before.
I'm all invested in this virtual draft. I mean, WWE had to do what they had to do at WrestleMania. I didn't really watch WrestleMania this past weekend. They had a 2-day spectacular thing, and fucking Gronk won a championship, and they filmed everything throughout the week, and they edited it. And I will say that the Undertaker AJ Styles match, John Cena versus Bray Wyatt match, they were like movies. It was awesome, and it actually helps WWE to learn from that. It's going to be interesting for the NFL to do the draft here. They're going to do their best. You know what? It's live. I'm sure it's live. Like, so it's going to be the first live sporting event in probably a month, technically, in a way. I know that the NBA is trying out horse, and they're doing their 2K. No one gives a shit about that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the NFL draft. This is something that everyone looks forward to. It's a must-watch TV. There's going to be mistakes happening. Someone messaged me and said how interesting it is that New Era's probably pissed off because they probably have to send 32 hats out there to all these players to be like, here you go. We don't know what team you're going to, so just be ready to wear that hat when you're on Skype call or whatever they end up doing. And And then same thing with jerseys. I don't know if some of them are gonna have jerseys already to just wear like in an interview. It's gonna be interesting television. And if I'm ESPN, if I'm the NFL, don't make this. What time does the starts like 8 o'clock on the first day or something like that? Make this an all day thing because no one else is doing anything at home. Like start this on day one should start at noon, and you could just do day one. Day one should be rounds 1 and 2. I think that they should do that. Or if you want to just make round 1, stretch it all day if you can. Because you're going to have technical difficulties. You're going to need extra. You're going to need extra time in between the picks because of phone calls and video conferencing and whatnot. I think that they're going to have I don't care if it's 12 to 12, 3 or 4 days in a row. Like they can just do. They have all the time in the world on ESPN. There's no time constraints
Right. But the tough thing about that is each team has a certain amount of time to pick their players. So if you start extending that time period, it makes it easier for them to draft a better guy or potentially make a better trade than they would have.
Which is understood. I'm saying that you're going to run into a problem where if I'm Belichick and you know him, I would call and say, no, I didn't. My Wi-Fi went down. He'll be like, my Wi-Fi went down. Like he has no idea how to say anything. My Wi-Fi went down. I have no idea how to use Snapface. I can't use this time face. I don't know how to use Scoop. Like I don't know how to use the Zoom. Like I don't know. I'm sure that there's going to be some technical. That's what's interesting because there's going to be some technical difficulties out there. We're going to be seeing it live in real time. Just don't go on Twitter because, everything's probably going to get tweeted out quicker than you're going to actually see the pick being made if you want to. Don't be surprised that way. But it's going to be interesting TV. I'm going to be watching it. You're going to be watching it. So
I'm telling you right now, the person who's actually benefited the most from COVID-19 anywhere in the world, Roger Goodell. Because the NFL offseason has become must-watch stuff to report on. And in the past few years, it's been an absolute afterthought. No one actually pays attention to these signings, and it's not as exciting as the NBA offseason because that's in the summer and it makes more sense and everything. But this is the number one thing that people are reporting on now. Stephen A. Smith's talking about Jarrett Stidham becoming the next quarterback of the Patriots. They're talking about all the offseason moves and trades and everything that they wouldn't have been doing if NBA season and NHL season were still in effect. Goodell is benefiting the most from COVID-19, and it's not even close. The one guy that's struggling from this, Jaguars owner, Cod, he has a firm deal in place with everyone and their mother in England to bring games to them. And now we can't.
Yeah.
It's an absolute nightmare scenario.
I'm going to also say about how this benefits Roger Goodell, too. Say right now, like, there's teams that have new jerseys coming out. They're stretching this out as much as possible. So Tampa Bay's is coming out tomorrow on Tuesday the 7th. And they're supposed to have a new look logo as well, too. And then the Patriots, I heard, and Falcons are both going to be coming out on the 14th. Don't quote me on the Patriots one, but I heard it's going to be next week. And then the 21st is supposed to be the LA Chargers. And then I think the next week is going to be another team. They're just stretching this out as much as possible, and that's what they can do. Even with the NFL schedule, it's actually smart to not even put it in April, put it in May because it gives everyone something to talk about. So because then you can start doing these dream matchups and be like, oh, wow. And actually, if the NFL is smart, and I'm sure people are going to do this, they're probably going to take Madden and they're going to do simulations and shit like that. People are going to have that. Let's go through the entire Patriots schedule. Now we have their entire schedule. Let's do it one by one. Let's see what their records are going to be. That's TV. They'll have extra stuff off of that.
I'm interested to see too how this affects the release of Madden because every year comes in August. Every single year comes out in August. But now we have almost literally nothing to look forward to, and the draft is actually coming up very soon. I wonder if they start putting these rookies in the game early to give people access to play these simulations because they have no other entertainment. Literally no other entertainment besides Xbox. This is getting embarrassing.
All right, Joe. Any final thoughts before we jump into the draft?
I'm ready to go.
All right. So let me pull this up. So Joe Stafford, and you guys can also read this at ridethewavemedia.com. Also at Ride the Wave Media on IG. Stafford dropped this 4 days ago. So we're going to be going off of this. So, Joe, let's start. It's a 2020 NFL draft. Every team is on the clock. You're on the clock. This is your mock draft. This is Stafford's 3.0 draft. With the first pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select
Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. I've seen the Bengals make incompetent decision after incompetent decision, but I really don't even think they can mess this one up. Joe Cool is the number one player on my board as well as pretty much every other player's board. he's the real deal. Reminds me of Brady in a lot of ways, a lot of scary ways, honestly. He comes into Cincinnati, changes the entire landscape of the AFC North, and I think he'll have an easier time than Kyler Murray had in Arizona last year, just because he has a strong running game. Joe Mixon, he has AJ Green, who got franchise tag. I was very surprised by that. He has Boyd, and he has a less than solid offensive line, but I think better than Arizona's was last year, at the very least. So I'm interested to see what Burrow can do with this Bengals team next year.
With the second pick in the NFL draft, 2020 NFL draft, the Washington Redskins select
Chase Young, defensive end, Ohio State. He's a true game record edge rusher. Going to be hard to mess this one up, too. I do think Ron Rivera kind of tries to bait a lot of people into believing he wants to draft a different guy. He's thrown out smoke before about Tua Tagovailoa and even Isaiah Simmons a couple days ago. This is all smoke. I really don't buy it. He's going to go with Chase Young at the end of the day.
with the third pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Miami Dolphins select
Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama. This is a trade. The Detroit Lions are at number 3 on the draft order currently. I just think Miami panics. I really do, because they keep saying, oh, we have the same grade for Herbert, Tua, and Joe Burrow. No, you don't. There's a 0% chance you have all three rated the exact same. I think Matt Patricia actually benefits the most in this draft because he has at that third spot. He has a lot of different things cooking. He could trade to LA, the Chargers. He could trade to Miami. He could trade to a surprise third-party team in the mid-teens, perhaps. I think Miami gets. I think Tua is the guy. His medicals looked great, as promising as they could have hoped, and he's the new franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins.
Thank you for letting me know also where the trades are going to come in, because I'm just going based on what you post here. So that's the Lions pick at number 3, as you said. So that's the trade right there. So you have the Dolphins coming up to number 3. So the number 4 pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the New York Giants select
Tristan Wirfs, offensive lineman, Iowa. I say offensive lineman because he could play the guard or tackle position, which is the very reason why I have him ranked over guys like Andrew Thomas, who might project better as a full tackle in the NFL. We were at the Combine, and Wirfs blew me away. Unbelievable footwork, thighs bigger than your body. It's really unbelievable to see how quick this guy can move at the size he's at. The number one priority for Joe Judge and the Giants, it should be protecting Daniel Jones. And I heard a lot of rumors that they've been talking about maybe taking Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson at 4. That also makes a lot of sense. But they also have Jabril Peppers, who's basically the same player, just a shittier version. So I think they go worse here just to protect their quarterback.
with the 5th pick in the 2020 NFL draft. This is the trade, because the Detroit Lions will select
Jeff Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State. Best cornerback prospect since Jalen Ramsey. He goes in the same spot as Ramsey did a few seasons ago. They shipped off Darius Slay last week. They signed Desmond Trufant from Atlanta, but they still need that solidified number 1 corner for Patricia's defense to work. He had it in Gilmore here, and now they get it in Okudah in Detroit. Unbelievable player. Zone or man, doesn't matter. Great control of the game, great footwork. He'll be a slam dunk pick at number 5.
with the number 6 pick in the 2020 NFL draft. The LA Chargers select
Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon. At the Combine, me and Babs were blown away by his arm strength. He can really rainbow that ball down the field, 60-plus yards, without even moving his feet, which is really unbelievable to see. They've committed to Tyrod Taylor as their starter to this point. I don't buy it. This is Cleveland 2.0. They're going to draft a guy in the first round, and he'll be taken over that position by week 5. I think Herbert, this is the best landing spot for him in the entire draft, the best fit, because he has guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams he can just air it out to. They're great downfield players, so I think this is the perfect spot for Herbert to land.
Gotta agree with you 100% there, too. If Justin Herbert is taken in the top 5 and Tua's been taken in the top and Joe's been taken in the top, who's the next quarterback that would go to LA Chargers?
I don't think they take a quarterback and they either trade down in that spot or just pick the best player available. If there was a quarterback and they were set on that, it's Jordan Love. Okay.
At the 7th pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select
Isaiah Simmons, linebacker or safety, out of Clemson. This is an absolute monster of a player. Can play so many different positions on the defensive side of the ball. He's played 5. He actually started at 5 over the course of the past year. We're in a sub-4 40 at his size is truly unbelievable. Matt Rule was drunkenly scouting this guy in Indianapolis and says, hey, I need this player on my team. He goes to Carolina and really tries to transform that defense.
Oh boy, my door just like slammed right open. With the 8th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select
Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, Louisville. The Cardinals' offensive line was atrocious for Kyler Murray last year. Thank God Murray has wheels and can get away and play outside the pocket. But if they want to implement stuff with DeAndre Hopkins down the field, they need a stronger offensive line. And Becton's just the guy to do it. I'm sure Cliff Kingsbury wants to incorporate some hybrid blocking schemes into their offense next season. Becton's the most athletic tackle in the draft. He ran a 5.40, I believe, at 340 plus pounds. He's an absolute beast, and I really do think Becton's the pick for them at Arizona.
with the 9th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. I'm really high on this kid. He's a top 3 talent for me in the entire draft, but there's always a player that drops because of positional need. It happens every single year. And Brown's the casualty this year. He goes to Jaguars, and he gives Doug Marrone his anchor on the defensive line he tried to trade for in Marcel Darius a couple years ago, but never got the production out of.
with the 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select
Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, Georgia. Mayfield and Nick Chubb are thrilled with this pick. Thomas actually played with Chubb at Georgia, so there's already some chemistry there. He knows what Chubb likes coming out of the backfield. And the main thing for Mayfield is protecting his blind side, and I think Thomas slides into that left tackle role and really solidifies that side of the line. Granted, Mayfield threw the most interceptions not pressured in the league last year. Providing him some stability will improve his turnover numbers ultimately.
Very interested in that Cleveland team if they can turn it around. There was a lot of hype last year, and let's see if they can do it this year. With the 11th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select
CeeDee Lamb, receiver, Oklahoma. I think Judy's better than CeeDee Lamb. I think you'll see that later on as we go into this draft. But Lamb lands in Gotham for the 3rd straight mock draft for me. I just think the Jets are sold on him. I think there's really just a love between the two, between the player and the franchise. Sam Darnold needs the weapons, man. He is stranded on desert island. He has no one to throw to. Quincy Enunwa is basically handicapped at this point. He's been injured so many times over his career. Braxton Berrios is their 3rd string receiver as of right now, which is just atrocious to think about. CeeDee Lamb's the number 1 prospect for the Jets to take. I think he really transforms that passing game for Darnold and the Jets. They could go offensive line here. I think they probably need to. But at the end of the day, they need receivers for Darnold to throw to.
I was to say, get another weapon for Sam Darnold. That's a good pick. And plus, you have Le'Veon Bell still on the team. With the 12th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, I can't do this. I repeat myself every time. With the 12th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select
Jerry Jeudy, receiver, Alabama. Like I said earlier, I think Judy's better than Lamb, but I think he just falls because of fit with the Jets and Lamb. Judy's the best receiver in this class, like I just said. Gives Derek Carr one last shot to be a franchise guy. And he basically is a clone of Mari Cooper, who came out of Alabama a few years prior. They form a nice tantalizing duo out in the desert, and hopefully he propels that offense up to where Antonio Brown would have put them if he had stayed on the team last season. I actually fully expect Jeudy to be in the running for Rookie of the Year, top 3 contender at the very least.
With the 13th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers select
Henry Ruggs, the 3rd receiver out of Alabama. That's the 3rd consecutive receiver taken in my mock draft, and really the last headliner at the position for the 1st round. Ruggs is a burner. We saw he almost broke the record at the combine. We were watching that 40-yard dash. This kid has cheetah feet, and he actually wore the cheetah cleats, which is kind of a flex on him. Ruggs is a game breaker down the middle of the field, and suddenly the 49ers have thunder and lightning at the receiver position. They have big and bad in Deebo Samuel, and they have short and sleek in Henry Ruggs.
Real quick, where did they get that 13th pick from?
From the Colts, they traded DeForest Buckner to them, and they got the 13th pick in return.
There you go. 2 first-rounders for San Fran. Not bad. With the 14th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, Tom Brady's new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, select
Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle, Alabama. He's an absolute stud at tackle, super talented player. He falls in the mid-teens, and Brady could not be happier about it. One area of concern for Tampa is definitely the offensive line. They obviously have the weapons to compete in this NFC, but as I said before, the offensive line is the main concern. Brady's 43 years old. He needs some protection, especially when Arians hasn't dropped back in those long step backs, those 7-step drops, and airing out downfield. Wills provides the protection that Brady needs.
With the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select
C.J. Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. Now, I fully expect the Broncos, if Ruggs is creeping out of that top 10 and towards that 13th spot, I think the Broncos trade up with San Francisco to take Ruggs. I think it was too bold of a take to put on my mock draft as of right now. But if the Broncos stay put, it's definitely Henderson. They need some help. They traded away Chris Harris Jr. in the offseason. And I could definitely see them trying to take a guy like Henry Ruggs if he's here. But they need to shore up that secondary badly. I think Henderson's the next best guy on the board.
With the 16th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select
Lavon Chasen, edge LSU. His name is the hardest to pronounce in the entire draft. Like, I can't even pronounce it. I had AJ Espinosa at this pick for a long time in my past 2 mock drafts. But after that combat performance, he didn't really wow me. I don't think he really wowed anybody. I really think he starts to drop. I think Chasen's playoff run with LSU really puts him over the top, and I think the Falcons really need to strike with that edge position.
Now we're halfway through that 16 picks right there, 1 through 16. You know what's great? When you're a first-round draft pick, what ends up happening is advertisers come after you, right? And you can pick whatever you want. You could pick Elio's Pizza if you want, because Elio's Pizza is one of the best frozen pizzas on the market. And it's one of the best frozen pizzas because I went to the grocery store this morning and they were sold out completely of Elio's Pizza. And I wish I had some Elio's right now to eat during the podcast. I'm not like Brendan, where Brendan gets the product in front of his face and he gets to eat it. If I'm I can't even say his name. Kevialon Chasen. If I had to say his name, I'd be Lavon Chiasen. He should get some Elio's Pizza. 16
or a better
picks.
Name.
16 picks. You have the first 16. Do you see anything, if you could go back right now, do you see any other trades happening in the top 16? Anything that you want to say that could possibly happen and change it? I'm giving you like a mulligan right now.
Right. So basically what I said earlier, I think the Broncos end up trading up if Ruggs starts to fall because Elway's obsessed with this guy. He wants to give Drew Lock a full arsenal to pair with Courtland Sutton. So if there's going to be another pick, I do think it's going to be the Broncos trading up into that top 12 spot to take Ruggs. Other than that, maybe the Chargers switch with Miami and they take the 3rd pick and they take Tua. But besides that, I really don't see any other trades happening.
Let's get right back into it with the 17th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Dallas Cowboys select
Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama. Yes, they signed Clinton Dix, but he has not been the same since he left Green Bay. You got to start somewhere. Cowboys lost Byron Jones in the offseason, and that's a huge loss. Number 1 corner on that team. McKinney's not a corner, like I just said. He's a safety, but I think you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and I think McKinney's the guy to do it at safety. There's some rumors going around that Jamal Adams might actually be leaving the New York Jets. There's been some contract stalls. He's supposed to be a free agent next season. There's been some rumors that Dallas wants to trade for him. And if they can pair McKinney with Adams, it's the best safety duo since Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas in the Legion of Boom.
With the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins, who made that trade, because this is going to be this is actually one of their picks. What would happen in that? I'm confused. Okay, go back to that trade with the number 3 pick. How did that work out?
So 3 and 5 swap with Detroit and Miami throws in an extra 3rd or 4th round pick. This is not going to be a high stakes swap, as we've seen before. When you see John Lynch trade to Chicago when they had the Mitch Trubisky scenario a couple seasons ago, they got an extra 4th round pick, I believe, out of that pick. It was not a huge, monstrous trade.
Okay, so with the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select
Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, South Carolina. A lot of guys have him in the top 10, but I think if Derek Brown starts to fall and he goes to Jacksonville, Kinlaw takes an absolute tumble. Kinlaw's kind of a questionable guy when it comes to motor. He doesn't really love the game of football. I think that really hurts his stock as well. But if anyone's going to motivate him, it's going to be Brian Flores. He's an absolute motivator of a coach. Great defensive scheme there for Kinlaw as a fit. He becomes the new Ndamukong Suh, and I really think he turns around that entire defensive line. And really that entire defense, they've seen a lot of improvements over the offseason. They've signed a lot of great guys, like our guy Kyle Van Noy. And I fully expect the Dolphins to be in contention to win the AFC East this year.
With the 19th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders, another pick for them in the first round, select
Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama. Another Bama guy. A lot of Bama guys going in this first round. The Raiders missed out on Byron Jones. They were trying to get Jones to lure Tom Brady, but as that Brady thing started to fade out of the picture, they stopped pursuing Jones. Great size and strength at the position. Matchups well against all these guys in the division, like Mike Williams and Cortland Sutton. These bigger bodied receivers can play press coverage, can play off, can play really any coverage you need them to do. The Raiders need a cornerback bad, and I think Diggs fulfills that role.
With the 20th pick in the 2020 pick in the NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars, another pick for them in the first round, select
Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU. Another great playoff run for LSU, and Fulton was a headliner on that defense. This is the revamp of Saxonville. They need to revamp that defense. They took Derek Brown in the top 10 already. Now Fulton comes in and replaces that secondary, which is barren, by the way. They had one of the best defenses, maybe borderline of all time, when they played the Patriots in that AFC Championship game a few seasons ago. And they lost every single secondary member, every single one. So I think Fulton comes in and replaces the hole that Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Bouye left when they departed.
With the 21st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select
Justin Jefferson, receiver out of LSU. Like I said, my first mock draft, I was predicting him to jump off draft boards, and he did. He did just that. The more teams watch tape, the more they realize guys need to perform in clutch moments, and he had the best postseason college playoff season of anyone this year, outside of Joe Burrow, obviously. He's going to be a true game wrecker, I think. He's going to be a great guy after the catch, and Carson Wentz desperately needs guys who can catch. I'm looking straight at you, Nelson Aguilar. Looking straight at you. They let him go finally, but I think Jefferson comes in and it's the number one receiver for Philadelphia moving forward.
Yeah, I was going to say Carson Wentz desperately does need that receiver over there, but I also think Carson Wentz's time is kind of up, and I think he's completely overrated. I mean, not overrated so much. We can get into that a little bit a different day, but he had a great season, fantastic season, that Super Bowl season until he got hurt, but I just think that he's not the same since. The 22nd overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select
Damon Arnett, cornerback out of Ohio State. This dude is a carbon copy of Ty Law. It's really unbelievable. Shout out Ty Law, one of our sponsors, V1 Vodka. Try it out. But Arnett is an absolute beast. He is a carbon copy of Law, like I just said. He can play physical. He's going to play really physical down the field, which might get him in trouble, as the NFL has really not relaxed their cornerback rules at all when it comes to pass interference. The Vikings lost Mackenzie Alexander, Trey Waynes, and Xavier Rhodes all in free agency. They need cornerbacks as desperately as anyone in the draft, and they need someone to cover guys like Devontae Adams, Kenny Golladay, even Allen Robinson in Chicago. So they need a guy like Arnett to hold down that secondary.
So if you're listening at home and you're watching on YouTube, shout out for that, because you can see our lovely faces, my lovely mustache. We are finally at the 23rd overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. And a lot of people want quarterbacks. Different people want maybe a wide receiver. The New England Patriots, who do they select?
Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU. We've lost Jamie Collins. We've lost Kyle Van Noy. We have no one on that outside or even borderline inside. We still have Hightower, but we'll see if he takes a step back next year. Queen is the guy to replace Hightower and become the next generational linebacker for the New England Patriots. Queen plays primarily inside. I see Hightower moving to the outside in the next defensive scheme we implant as the next season approaches. He was pretty much the captain of this LSU defense. He was on the stage with Joe Burrow when they were to get the national championship. This is a guy who commands respect from the locker room, and Belichick's going to love him. He plays silent on the sideline, plays bigger than his size indicates. I just think it's a slam dunk pick.
I like that you're sticking with this. You've been on this hype train since day one. I know you have been. I can defend that 100%. I don't think anybody else is taking this pick right here at 23. I'm sorry. I just brain fart for a second. I'm giving you another mulligan. I'm saying, all right, Stafford, say they don't go that way with Patrick Queen. What's the backup pick right here?
If they don't take Queen, I definitely see them trading down, or maybe if they want to take another linebacker, Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma, kind of a similar player, but bigger and a little bit slower. They do a linebacker, I think, regardless. They're not going receiver. I keep hearing people say they're
No,
going
they're not.
receiver.
They're not.
They're not going receiver. Belichick hates taking skill position players in the first round. He hates it. N'Keal Harry's a very big exception last season. This is like one of the only times he's ever done it.
They'll get a receiver later on. They're not going to do it here. If they don't go Patrick Queen in my book, they're going to trade down. I think it's just at this point, Belichick's going to be like, I don't really like what I see around there. You never know. Patrick Queen could go off the board above this, and another team could just scoop him up because they know the Patriots want him. So I think at that point, an example would be at 22, instead of taking the cornerback out of Ohio State, the similar guy for Ty Law, say they take Patrick Queen, Belichick would be like, we're all set at corner. We don't need anybody. You know what? We're going to trade down. And I think they're going to personally trade down at this pick. Now, the next pick, the number 24th pick, the New Orleans Saints, very interesting who you have here, because I want you to kind of put this together, because this pick that the Saints take, people are going to be like, why don't the Patriots take him? So with the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select
Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State. A lot of people give me flack for this pick. They're saying the Patriots not going to let Love drop past 23. I disagree. Every indication that's coming out of the Patriots organization right now is that Stidham is the guy moving forward. They are not going to say that statement and then draft a guy in the first round at 23. Belichick does not work like that. He has never worked like that. I fully expect them to draft a quarterback in the third round, the fourth round, maybe even trade up into the second round and take a guy if they're sold on him. Maybe a guy like Jake Fromm drops, they take him like that. Hopefully, I'm hoping for Jalen Hurts. Probably not going to happen, but I'm still on that bandwagon. Hopefully that happens. But they're not going quarterback at 23.
8 more picks to go. Let's get right through this. The 25th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings, another first-round pick for them. They select
AJ Epinesa, edge, Iowa. He took a tumble for me. He was supposed to go at 16 a couple of mock drafts ago, and really he kind of started tumbling towards the end of last week. Like I said, at the Combine, me and Babs were there. Nothing spectacular. I think everyone else outshined him on that stage in Indianapolis. He's kind of a Trey Flowers type player, like a Walmart version of Trey Flowers, essentially. I think the Vikings just want to shore up that position anyway, that edge position, just because they lost a guy like Everson Griffin, who was just an absolute statue at that edge position for so many years. So they needed to take someone to replace that guy.
With the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins, who have 3 first-round picks. This is their last first-round pick. The Miami Dolphins select
Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. I love this pick for the Dolphins. They need to protect Tua as much as humanly possible. Yes, injury history is an issue with Tua, but the medicals are promising, like I said earlier. Jackson's a guy who will be an absolute cornerstone for this offensive line moving forward. Flores knows he needs to protect his number one priority, which is the quarterback. I think Jackson's the guy to do it.
With the 27th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, my NFC prediction, NFC champions, Seattle Seahawks select
Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma. I've seen a lot of guys try to go edge at this pick. I think Clowney goes back to Seattle. I think he just picks up his stones and walks back to the Seahawks because they give him the best chance to win. And he's also lowered his salary options. The Seahawks offered him $18.5 million. He turned that down. Got nothing like that towards in the open market. So he goes back probably for $17.5 to Seattle. You see Russell Wilson was recruiting him on Instagram a couple days ago. Murray's the guy to do it at 27. I think him and Bobby Wagner form an absolute duo at linebacker in Seattle. I think it's going to be dangerous.
With the 28th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the future AFC champions. That's right. I'm already predicting it right now. The Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be Ravens-Seattle Seahawks in the 2020 Super Bowl, if it even exists. The Baltimore Ravens select
Yetur Gross-Matos, edge, Penn State. Another horrifying name. Just a terrible, terrible name. Baltimore Ravens get this guy after a great offseason. They acquired Derek Wolfe in free agency. They traded for Calais Campbell. Great moves. That was the number one priority for the Ravens to shore up that defensive line. They don't stop with those two moves. They take Gross-Matos out of Penn State. Great late first-round addition for the Ravens. Great value at the end of this first round. That fifth-year option can be very important for them, especially because Campbell's so old, especially because Wolf is getting up there in age. They need guys that will be around for the long haul, and I think Gross-Matos stay there for the full 5 years and potentially beyond that.
My take real quick is I think Lamar Jackson bounces back and makes the Super Bowl this year, and I think Russell Wilson has one more left in him in that Seattle team. I'm very interested to see where both go. I think they're the top two. NFC's wide open, but I think Seattle takes it. With the 29th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the surprising AFC finalist, Tennessee Titans select
Josh Jones, offensive tackle out of Houston. Kind of an unspectacular college career up until his senior year. Then he really just balled out towards the end of that senior year. Mike Vrabel understands he needs to protect Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. They need to shore up that offensive line, especially losing Jack Conklin in free agency to Cleveland. I just think Jones is the guy that they picked just because of his intelligence. He's really a smart offensive lineman. I think Vrabel likes that, and it's a great value at the end of the first round.
Do you see at any point that the Tennessee Titans try to trade up at all because they know that they have at least a team that can compete this year, that they want to say, hey, we have to go all in this year?
Barring like a spectacular drop, like say Simmons drops out of the top 10, maybe a guy like, I don't even know what kind of scenario that would bring on. Maybe Chasen as he starts to drop, if he drops past Atlanta at 16, maybe those two guys. But besides that, I think they stay put or trade down even.
Okay. With the 30th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select
T. Higgins, receiver out of Clemson. This was Trevor Lawrence's favorite weapon last season. Higgins is a guy that can transform an offense, and they're going to see that as he goes to Green Bay next season. He's going to match up with Devontae Adams perfectly. They'll complement each other in a very stimulating way. And I think Matt LaFleur realizes Rodgers is getting up there in age. He says he's going to play till he's 40, but no one's going to age like Brady did. No one. I don't care who you are. I really think Higgins helps that transition as Rodgers starts to lose that arm strength.
With the 31st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers with another pick in the first round select
Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU. This is the first time Delpit makes the first round for me. A lot of guys were really shitting on me for that, saying, oh, Delpit is going to make the first round easy. No, he's not. People are not as high on him in the NFL community as they are in the fan community. I think it's going to come out. But at the 31st spot there for the 49ers, if Delpit's there, that's a slam dunk pick. Great value at the end of the first round, like I said, with so many guys towards the end of this round. Delpit's a great player, can play all over the defense. Great coverage guy, something they need in the middle of the field for that 49er defense. I do believe this is the number one candidate to trade down in the draft. If I had to pick one to trade down, it's going to be San Francisco at 31, just because they already picked their guy at 13. And they can get great value for that fifth-year option if teams want to kind of jump into that first round again.
All right, Stafford, bring him home with the number 32 pick in the 2020 NFL champion, the Super Bowl champion, NFL Draft, Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Who do they select?
DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia. This is a huge selection for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Swift is just another speed demon to add to that offense. Truly a scary sight when you think about it. They're adding just another weapon for Mahomes to work with. Swift can work well in the passing game as well as the running game. Gives them more options than Damian Williams does. Swift is much faster than Williams. I think it fits their offense much better, but they'll probably go with a running back by committee backfield until Swift takes over fully that following season. But this is just a scary sight for the rest of the NFL that they get Swift on a fifth-year option at that 32 spot.
That's it right there. There is your 3.0 Joe Stafford mock draft for the 2020 NFL draft there. Good insight there. Good breakdown of each one. We're going to have to do this again probably right before. We'll try to do it the day before the NFL draft. That way we get the most accurate draft possible for you. I'm interested to see what you hit. I know that you're getting shit on for some of those picks now, but this is your chance to I hope that you hit 20 of these, and it's possible that you can do it. But when one changes at the top, the rest of the mock.
That's what I wanted to emphasize. And again, with mock drafts, it's less about predicting the actual players as it is in trying to predict where teams are thinking, where their teams are leaning towards in terms of their strategy going to draft season. So I'm not hitting 20. I'm telling you that right now. No one hits 20. Mike Mayock hit like 4 2 seasons ago, and he's the draft guru that everybody looks to. So I really do think. I'm hoping I hit in the 8 to 12 range. I really do. I think I have a possibility of hitting that. And I just want to go forward.
Well, the first two are gimmies. Like, it's free spaces pretty much. It's like if you're playing bingo. You get a free space right there. Joe Burrow, that's a layup.
Well, that's almost every year. That's almost every year with those top 3 picks. So we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, Joe. Any last final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Nope. Stay safe, guys. COVID-19 is real. They can be the worst week coming up as we go into this. Look forward to the draft. Is the only thing I'm looking forward to. over the next few weeks. So stay tuned. We'll have my 4.0 mock draft and maybe an Instagram live mock draft featuring myself, maybe Babs, maybe Spencer Smith. So we'll see how that goes.
That would go. That'd be nice. My case, the last word is that, again, COVID, this shit ain't going away. It's going to last all summer. Summer's been canceled in 2020 in my mind. The society hasn't told anybody yet. Minnesota had already canceled or shut down beaches and water parks. I guess they have beaches up in Minnesota off the Lake Michigan. They've banned. Why are you making that face over there? Jesus. They've shut down all beaches and water parks until August 31st. That came out a couple days ago. I think that summer of 2020 is going to be canceled. I don't think we're going to have an NFL season. I think the NBA, NHL, and MLB are not even going to happen. In terms of the hospital right now, they just built 10 beds in the emergency room, ambulance bay, like 10 ICU beds, which are going to stay up for a full year. So that means our ambulance bay is going to be shut down for a year, which everything happens on our main ramp. And then even in our ER, we have hallways. So in the ER, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 different or 6 different areas that hold patients, and there's hallways in between. They're lining up beds and getting ready to have beds that go along the hallways. So they're actually putting electrical equipment and getting stuff ready to go. And then outside of the ER, when you go into the back hallway, there's one long hallway that goes around to another long hallway. They're setting up beds over there, like another 25 beds. And then I was told by nursing staff and stuff that I was like, what happens if we got capacity in the ER with this? They said, MGH is going to do everything they can to house as many people as possible, whether it's tents, whether you're taking office space and turning it into hospital rooms. They are prepping for like the worst. And I'm telling you right now that there's certain things I don't and I can't say because I can't make it public. But I mean, it's I've been working every day as much as possible because it's just interesting to go into. Also picking up some overtime, which is nice, but it's just it's interesting times at the hospital, and it's just I don't see this ever going away this entire 2020 year. I do hope to the point that our society can get back to normal. We can go out, but it's going to end up. What's going to happen is the cases are going to go down because everyone's quarantined, and then all of a sudden people are going to go outside, and then it's going to go back up again. I mean, that's what happened across the world, and you just can't think like, oh, it happens in Italy and China. It's not going to happen here. I mean, hello, duh. Like, so great. What Michelle saw this yesterday. I showed it to her. Viruses don't spread. People do. Viruses don't spread. People do. That's a great saying right there. I like that a lot. I saw that, I think, on Facebook, and I'm going to steal it and tweet it out. The mayor, Marty Walsh, came out and said that there's a curfew. It's between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. It's recommended curfew. That's a ploy to get the National Guard set up in Boston. That's a way to say, hey, we need a curfew set up. And then he's going to be like, people are not listening to it. And then they can put the National Guard out there. And all the National Guard's going to do is probably set up checkpoints. We have to drive by. I don't have my ID on me. It's in the other room. But you show your ID and it says disaster pass on it, or I'm an essential employee. I'm supposed to be out right now. I think it's going to end up getting to something like that at some point. They should be setting that up during the day, not during the nighttime. No one goes out in the nighttime. It's pointless to go out at night. There's nothing even open. I don't even get that curfew thing. It's not like a curfew should be more for like a city that's in distress when like there's riots happening, but life is still going on. During this pandemic, everything is closed at nighttime, so it made absolutely no sense. It's just interesting to hear some people's takes on that at the hospital about it. But yeah, I mean, again, we're also going to get to the point too where in our society you have to wear masks outside. There's going to probably be a point where grocery stores, gas stations, convenience stores are not even going to let you in takeout, and delivery places are not going to let you come inside unless you're wearing a mask. So invest in some sort of cloth mask. The whole point of
7-Eleven already did that. They're implementing it. They're not letting you inside without a mask on. So
when did they implement that? Because I just went
today.
The other day. Okay, so today. Good thing that you said that. So because I just know I have a couple extras that I got ready to go. I think someone from Arizona is actually sending me some Patriots ones, which are cool. I know that I Love Boston Sports is taking some of their old T-shirts and they're making them into cloth masks. The point of the mask is not to prevent you from getting it. It's for you to prevent you from spreading it. And that needs to be out there as well too. When you're talking and you're cheese balling or you got your nose running and stuff like that, and it's here to protect you. So don't be shocked if you go out there and you're not allowed to go in somewhere and you don't have a mask on. I went to Stop and Shop this morning after work. I didn't wear a mask out there. I will admit that. I didn't have an extra one on me, and it got to the point where everyone else in Stop and Shop had one. There was a few workers that didn't. There was a few people that might have not had one on, but a lot of people had N95s. They had some sort of cloth over their face. And I said this to GRD a couple days ago. This isn't going away with the masks, because even when the pandemic ends and it starts slowing down, there are going to be people. We're going to be like China. And there are going to be people out there that are going to be wearing masks at all times. That's what China does. I know that they have bad air pollution over there and the diseases that go around. And it's funny because if you're in a company, a clothing company, you're going to start seeing how they're going to market these masks, like Supreme, like wear the new Supreme mask. Like it's going to be style, fashion. It's going to be crazy over the next 5 years. I think it's going to be 5 years of this, wearing masks in public. And it's going to get to the point, if you're not wearing a mask in public, people are going to look at you funny. So society's really changing for our future, for the next decade even. So interesting times, man. But that's it. That's all I got to say. This has been Boston's Big Three, presented by Ride the Wave Media, sponsored today by Elio's Frozen Pizza. Go pick it up in your local supermarket. This has been episode 48, Boston's Big Three. Joe Stafford's Mock Draft 3.0. Check out ridethewavemedia.com for his full breakdown. And Joe, we'll see you soon with another breakdown. Take care, everybody. Appreciate it.